Career Technical Education Department. We are busy supporting career technical programs, really kinder through 12th grade in Poway Unified, and it's our pleasure to bring you the College and Career Showcase tonight. We had no option really last year but to take this program on the road and do it via Zoom. Our presenters tonight, Erin Monroe and Marty Vaughn, were part of that presentation last year. They're brave enough to come back this year. Things feel a little more dialed in. I also want to take a minute to introduce Reed Ganser, who is a Poway High student who's also a CT ambassador. Reed and I will be monitoring the chat and making sure that Erin and Marty are aware of questions that are popping up as they present. This presentation, just so you know you're in the right place, is the considering out-of-state college options. So if you've got students that are filling out college applications, or maybe you're way ahead of the game and that's a year or two down the road, you are kind of quizzical about what that means to go out of state. They're going to talk about those implications and about some opportunities too. So without further ado, I just want to say a quick thank you. I want to let you know that this video is recording, so you'll be able to revisit it, and anybody who wasn't lucky enough to get into the room with you tonight will have a chance to visit it as well. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce our two presenters. Marty Vaughn is the Associate Dean of Admissions for Providence College, and Erin Monroe is the Assistant Director and the California Regional Representative for the University of Iowa. And they have presented before, and I am confident you are going to be impressed. Go ahead, Erin and Marty. Thanks very much for joining us. Reed, you too.
Thank you so much. And just again, want to welcome everybody out this evening. I know it's probably already been a long evening for you. And after 19 months of Zoom meetings and virtual this, that, and the other, I promise I will try to make this, Erin and I will try to make this as painless as possible. But again, welcome. You're going to be applying to colleges very, very soon. And what we want to try to do here tonight is just to briefly expand your options and expose you to some out-of-state colleges and universities that you may not have considered before. So in this presentation, we're going to cover many of the benefits of going out of state, as well as dispel some of the myths about attending out-of-state colleges and universities. So the organization that Erin and I both represent is called RAC. And RAC is simply the Regional Admissions Counselors of California, catchy name. But we're an organization that's comprised of, more than 173 admissions representatives from almost 120 institutions that work with students and counselors throughout the state of California while representing universities and colleges outside of California. So me personally, I live in East County, San Diego. Erin, I believe, is in
Long Beach.
Long Beach, yes, in Long Beach. So obviously I don't get back to Providence, Rhode Island quite often. Erin, in an average year, how many times do you get back to Iowa City?
Well, I'm in a unique situation because my parents live in our college town. So I go back about 6 or 7 different times a year.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. So what RAC does, we really try to plan events throughout the state to expose students to out-of-state options, which they may not have considered. Again, we live in your backyard. We recruit full-time for our respective institutions, and we really understand the issues that are facing California students. We're on your time zone. You don't need to travel out of state to meet with us. Most of us are coffee addicts, so if you ever want to meet at a Starbucks or Panera, we're usually more than happy to do that. And our universities, frankly, are looking for more diversity, particularly geographic diversity. We're interested in students just like you, hence why our institutions invest in having regionally based California representatives.
So to kind of set the stage here, I just want to bring up some numbers and kind of talk about the demographic landscape that we're working with. So Massachusetts has a huge amount of four-year colleges for the population within their state. They have about almost 7 million people, but 82 four-year college options. Florida, 21.5 million citizens within their state, more college options for them. And then we get to California, the largest state in this list here, with almost 40 million people within the state. But proportionally, we have about 5.5 times the population of Massachusetts, and only about 1.5 times the population, or 1.5 times the amount of college options within their home state. So your amount of options for colleges, for 2- and 4-year colleges particularly, is going to increase so much more if you begin to look out of state for an institution to attend. Now, there are 221 2-year and 4-year colleges and universities within the state of California. But then when you begin to look beyond California and even include international schools, that's just going to broaden your horizons and potential college matches. So looking at these different options, it's going to expose you to colleges of wide variety of sizes, student populations, locations, academic offerings, and even extracurricular activities. With all of these different options, you're going to find a college that matches your needs. And what is going to be a match for you? A match is something that is going to fit both your academic, your social and emotional fit, and then even that financial fit.
Some of the advantages about going to school out of state, certainly, some of the same majors that you're interested in at the Cal States or the UCs are not impacted at out of state schools. Faculty size really matches the student population, so there are more course options, giving students a better chance at graduating in 4 years. Certainly, there are lots of direct entry options in a variety of areas, whether it be nursing or business, engineering, things like that. And there are tons of great colleges out there that don't receive over 60,000 applications, and so their admit rates are typically significantly higher. On average, I believe there are about 2/3 of that number that Aaron mentioned before, the 4,000 schools in the US. Typically, it's about 2/3 of them admit over 60% of their students. But usually the only ones that we hear about are these ones, the ones that are under 5%, under 15%, things like that. So not only are there not enough options within the state of California, but many of the options are just simply aren't attainable for students. The national average, as you can see there, again, 2/3, so 66% admit rate. You've got a much better chance in most cases of being admitted to a school out of state than one of the California options.
And one of those big myths that when students and families and people who are helping you along in that college finding and search process, one of those common misconceptions is that it's going to cost a lot more to attend college out of state. And when you're navigating that college process, it's really easy to stay focused on what that sticker price is of tuition. But there's actually a lot of different financial aid opportunities that you can explore to really lower that cost of tuition, sometimes even making it more cost effective to attend college out of state. And one of those programs is actually called the Western Undergraduate Exchange. It's pronounced WUI. It's a tuition discount agreement administered within the 16 Western states. So WUI is offered at more than 160 different public schools. So those are going to be 2-year and 4-year colleges and universities. It helps lower participating students' tuition to 150% of the school's resident tuition. So each school that's participating may have different qualifications and ways to earn this WUI, the tuition discount agreement. So it's important for you to ask those individual colleges what their WUI policies are. But on average, it helps save students about $9,000 each. Marty and I do not work for schools that have WUI, so we probably can't answer too many questions about it, but those are great questions for your admissions counselors at any of the Western public schools to kind of dig in a little bit deeper. There's going to be a lot of scholarship opportunities at out-of-state schools, and many schools even offer specific scholarships for students who are graduating from high schools in the state of California. The University of Iowa is actually one of those schools. We have a California Access Award for students of high academic merit and coming from the state of California. Schools are going to have merit-based scholarships, and some are automatic with your application to a variety of different schools, or you may have to submit additional material to qualify for those scholarships. Many private colleges may have a larger cost of attendance or sticker price, but most times those private schools are incredibly generous in their financial aid and scholarship packages to really help create a less out-of-pocket expense for students. And then there's even private schools who sometimes meet 100% of financial need. And now, what is meeting 100% of need? And that means that a school really promises to help ensure that every penny of an accepted student's demonstrated financial need is going to be covered through grants, work study, scholarships, and in some cases, federal student loans. So in that case, students are going to be submitting the FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid, to have that need met. And then when you're looking at schools out of state, that cost of living is going to be really different than what it is here in sunny Southern California. It's going to vary really very much from different states and cities. Being here in California, we really experience a very high cost of living. And by attending a school with a lower cost of living, you're able to save a lot of money when it comes to room, board, food, and transportation costs. And then on this slide, you can kind of see an example of the breakdown of the cost of UCs, the CSUs, out-of-state schools, and private colleges. So these are averages here. And while the cost of private colleges is notably sometimes higher, with scholarships and financial aid, the out-of-pocket cost is often really comparable to what a public college is going to be. When we look at the cost of attendance, I want to make sure you guys understand what cost of attendance is. So that's not just the price of tuition. It's going to include, of course, tuition and fees, but room and board, miscellaneous expenses like books and transportation. It budgets for things that you're not necessarily even billed for. So transportation costs may be different from a student who's driving to campus as opposed to flying to campus, or depending on who you are as an individual, how many pizzas you need to buy in the middle of the night to help get you through some of those intense study sessions.
And please don't misunderstand. Erin and I both love living in California. I think that's very safe to say. But for you, particularly for students, we really want you to, get outside of your comfort zone. Leaving California is going to help you grow. I think I like to compare it to some of the advantages that we often talk about when we talk about study abroad programs. The people and the way of life is different in, many regions of the US. You're going to gain friends from all over the world. And I think you're really going to grow through interacting with people that have a very different upbringing than yourself. And again, mom and dad, it's only 4 years. They can come back to graduate school or get jobs here in California. We really, again, one of the other, messed up my slides. But again, it's really about that growth mindset, frankly, and this is your chance, students. This is the opportunity that you have to try something new, to really learn about yourself, and just to become an adult.
All of the schools in RAC have regional admissions counselors based here in California because we have really successful California students on our campus. And we love the life perspective that they help bring to students who are attending our institutions from not only all over the United States, but all over the world. So some final thoughts as we continue to help you and give you some information to help you navigate that college search process is to really take full advantage of the opportunity to connect with admissions counselors. We are here in your state, in your time zone. We're most likely visiting your high school or giving a virtual presentation, offering student interviews or coffees or larger events in your area. So I think one of the best pieces of advice in this is ask questions. We're admissions counselors of admission, not denying. We want to help you get into school and to help you get the information that you need to be a successful applicant. So during this time right now, there are so many virtual ways to connect with college admissions counselors, take tours of campus, listen to presentations of specific departments or student organizations that you want to join. There are going to be a lot of different opportunities then even to visit a variety of campuses across the nation. So if you do have the opportunity to visit, we really encourage you to do so as well. And then one of those other pieces of advice is to really think about the things that you like to do currently and see if some of those same opportunities are going to be available around those schools and areas. Do you like to go hiking? Do you like to swim in the ocean? Are you wanting access to great shopping? Think about kind of where some of those places in the nation might be. But we're going to talk a little bit more just about who we are. Marty's going to provide a little bit of information about Providence, and then I'll provide some information about Iowa, and then we'll take some time for Q&A. So if you have questions for us, please put those in the chat. And I know Joe and Reed are monitoring that information, and we'll get that to Marty and I to answer some questions.
Great. It's usually pretty difficult to get to admissions representatives to keep it under 2 minutes, but I'm going to do my very, very best. Again, my name is Martin Vaughn. I'm the Associate Dean of Admission at Providence College, located in Providence, Rhode Island. Rhode Island is a great city. We love being in the biggest city in the smallest state in the country. Campus sits just 2 miles from downtown Providence, which is a state capital, just like Iowa City, I believe. So that provides a lot of opportunities for students, I think, certainly from an academic standpoint, but also from a social and co-curricular aspect as well. We have 4,100 undergraduates. We're primarily an undergraduate institution. We offer 57 majors and 35 minors. We have 35% of our students who are enrolled in the business school, so that's typically the largest program that you'll see at Providence. Excited to announce the creation of a new major that just started this fall. That's in music, technology, and production. Providence is a Dominican Catholic school. Certainly you don't have to be Catholic to go there. We're not going to turn you Catholic while you're there. But certainly with 15 different world religions represented on campus, students' faith life is something that's part of our culture. Again, we're just an hour south of Boston, 3 hours north of New York City. So definitely a great place to check out if you're ever on the East Coast. I will add my email to the chat box and some contact information if you'd like to receive more information on Providence. And now I will turn things over to Erin.
Yeah. So again, I'm Erin Monroe. I'm one of the assistant directors of admission with the University of Iowa. I live just up in Long Beach, and I'm a proud alum. So we're located in Iowa City, Iowa, a large public Big Ten institution. We've got about 22,000 undergraduate students on our campus, and our home is really a unique blend of high art and small city, where town and campus come together to make one of America's definitive college towns. Students fly into the Cedar Rapids Airport. It's just 20 minutes north of campus. We offer 200 different areas of study. Some of the things that we're best known for are going to be our English and Creative Writing program, which is the world-renowned Iowa Writers Workshop. We have an amazing opportunity for students that are interested in the health sciences, as we have one of the largest teaching hospitals in the nation. Other popular programs for students coming from California are going to be direct admission to the Tippie College of Business, College of Engineering. We have a really cool major in sports and recreation management, where our students actually do practicums over the summer with the Padres, screenwriting, and political science. We're test optional for seniors. We have an early action deadline of November 1st, and we make admission decisions on a rolling basis. We're a really collaborative campus rather than competitive, unless it's in athletics. And we're picking ourselves up from that loss against Purdue last weekend. But we really want students to work together as a team, just like you're going to have to do once you graduate and enter the workforce. We have over 500 different student organizations. Our students really get involved in both our campus community and downtown Iowa City, which is just right across the street from our campus. There's over 400 different performances in the Division of Performing Arts each year. And then, of course, Big Ten athletics. So Big Ten spirit, pride, tradition. We have the Iowa Wave, which if you haven't seen, give that a Google on the internet and watch a video of our stadium stopping after the first quarter of all of our home games and waving to the kiddos in the Children's Hospital just right across the street from Kinnick Stadium. But this has been really wonderful to share some more information with you guys. I hope that this has been valuable time. If you have more questions about exploring out-of-state options or the college admissions process and search, feel free to put those in the chat, and Marty and I will be able to answer those as we have a few minutes left in our presentation.
So first, Aaron, I want to thank you and Marty for taking the time. You guys are an amazing team. And Marty, in spite of your comment about struggling to limit it, like you guys were, you hit the post really time-wise. So thank you. I want to throw to Reed Ganser, our CT ambassador, which means Reed is a high school student who has not only participated in a pathway program, in this case, engineering at Poway High, but he's also a student who understands the value of those pathways. So Reed, I've got a question in the chat from Sophia Windsor. You want to field that one, Reed, or pass that on to Marty and Aaron?
Yeah, so the question is, when researching out-of-state possibilities, where do you start when there are so many colleges and universities to consider? So I believe that would be a question for Aaron and Martin.
As a father of a sophomore, I have the same anxiety, so I can empathize with Sophia's question.
There sure are a lot of options. Marty, I'll just kind of start by sharing a little bit of advice, and you jump in here as you're ready. But I think one of the first ways to kind of narrow down that field is by thinking about what you potentially want to study and what activities are important to you outside of the classroom. And there's some really great college search tools through a variety of different platforms where you can kind of filter things based upon areas of study or environment, activities, student organizations that can take that huge list of options, which is as exciting as sometimes nerve-wracking, and make that into a little bit smaller of a list. I think looking at region too is an important way to also kind of narrow that down.
Yeah, geography is usually the first place I recommend that folks start. As travel gets easier and safer, folks are going to be reuniting with family in different parts of the country. Tag on an extra day if you can to, walk through a campus. Don't be so concerned with, taking that formal tour and having that formal interview the first time you step foot on campus, but just get an idea of, what a large college feels like, what a small private liberal arts college feels like. And I think you can do that just, again, attaching that to, a family trip or a family vacation that you already have planned.
It's a great question.
Those are both awesome responses, great advice. I'm taking my daughter in about a month and a half to a field hockey tournament or training kind of expo on the East Coast. And we're doing exactly that. We're just extending the trip by a day to see how many colleges we can and take a look at it, and not the formal version of it, just sort of a drop in. So that's
and on
great.
The East Coast, you can throw a stone and hit like 6 different colleges in 30 minutes.
Very different, very different.
Yeah.
Sophia, I want to give a plug too, without rolling a grenade into this conversation, but I know Emily's in the room too, so she may have something out of this. Our department, the CT department in Poway Unified, has provided a tool called Zello. It's a career exploration tool that students really in secondary, most of our high schools, not all of our high schools use it, but I have found that in my child's experience, it really does take inventory of their strengths, interests, and values and make some recommendations about perfect match careers and let students dig deeper into where those programs exist. And then you can use a filtering tool to kind of get down to the, if I want to stay public or private or this many miles away from this zip code, you can really do some amazing filtering there. So I just wanted to put a plug in for Zello, Xello, and Zello.us is their website. If you are at Poway High, Mount Carmel, and then you're going to save me with the third one. It's RB. I think all three of those high schools have accounts, and all of our middle schools do as well. Oh, Sophia's saying Del Norte, and now I feel bad because I think Del Norte is not using it, but they have another tool that's very similar, and we will follow up with you on that one. Any other questions for our presenters? We have about 6 minutes left. Oh, Ron Lewis is asking, are there any Canadian schools that are members of RACC?
I would bet there's probably one. But let me put a link to our member directory in the chat for you all, so that if you do want to reach out to an admissions counselor within RAC at a school that you're interested in, you'll be able to access all of our contact information there. You can actually filter that directory by international schools. And so I'm sure there's got to be at least one.
I would like to say thank you very much to Marty and Aaron and Reed for joining us tonight. If there are more questions, I'm happy to stick around. We have Celine Ease asking, she says she's a veteran and her daughter can go to state school for free in California. Is that available, that veteran benefit available in other states?
Yes, quite often it is. Many schools refer to it as the Yellow Ribbon Program. And so that's something you can very easily go to our websites, usually the financial aid page, or just use the Google search on our websites to find out more information about the Yellow Ribbon Program. But certainly there are any of the schools that I've ever worked for, that has definitely been an option. I definitely think it's something that I wish more families and veterans would take advantage of, because there's some really nice benefits connected to that.
Excellent, and thank you very much, Esther. Well, two things. Sophia, I did not realize you were not the parent, so I agree. Parents are going to miss you when you go away. Whether that's out of state or not is probably to be determined. And then, Esther, you asked the question about what is the Zello website. The Zello website is, I'm going to put it in the chat here. I'm sorry, that was supposed to be Zello World because it's bigger than the US. I want to thank our presenters, Aaron and Marty, for taking the time. I want to thank Reed Ganser for stepping into the new position of CTE Ambassador and helping us promote how these pathways are preparing Poway Unified students for post-secondary, college, and career. And parents, if you have friends who would have benefited from this presentation, know that probably this time tomorrow, these will all be linked live on the PowayUSD.com website. And thank you guys so much for presenting tonight. Really appreciate you.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great evening.